Can you heal from abuse? What do I do after leaving my narcissist? What does a healthy relationship look like? These concerns cross the minds of over 20 people every minute, over 28,800 people every day. And the sad fact is, we still don't talk about it enough. Healing from emotional abuse isn't a band-aid situation, but it doesn't have to take years either. The lives of millions of other survivors around the world have been impacted by their narcissist. Yours doesn't have to. To show you how to live a free, confident, and peaceful life, your host and founder of the Healing from Emotional Abuse philosophy, Marissa F. Cohen.
Gentlemen, welcome back to a very special episode of the BCP/Breaking Through Our Silence podcast connection as we continue to break through the hashtag Speaking Out movement with my tag team partner, multiple-time Amazon award-winning best-selling author, my good friend, Miss Marissa Cohen. Marissa, what's up over there? How you doing?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really, really good. You know, all things considered, you know, like we keep saying, 2020, but Marissa, you've knocked it out of the park with this one, and I am super hyped, super honored right now. This is a big one, guys. Right here, I am personally so honored to be speaking with easily one of the best in the world right now, the first ever Mexican-born and current NWA Women's World Champion, Miss Thunder Rosa. Miss Rosa, how are you today?
Great, thank you.
We should add an applause track.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to roll the R's, but I would really just fail at that miserably. But it really is an honor. Ms. Rosa, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time. First and foremost, 2020 has been crazy. How are you? How's the family? How's everyone making out in this 2020 COVID world right now?
We're doing really well. We definitely use COVID as a launch pad for a lot of stuff. We're really focused, and as you guys know, we revamp Mission Pro Wrestling to make it mostly female staff and everybody in there because of what, after the whole speak out. So we're working on that. I mean, it is really hard because I have a tendency to start things and not really have a plan for it. It's just let's go. And then we just go from there. So we're working on it really hard.
Yeah, it's crazy. I find it as a creative and a journalist in the business, now really is a good time to focus on our crafts in other ways. But I want to talk about, your reaction when we first saw this hashtag Speaking Out movement. We've talked to a lot of indie towns. We've talked to a lot of promoters. We're so honored to have you here. When you saw this hashtag trending on Twitter, what was your immediate reaction or thoughts? Were you surprised?
I was not surprised, actually. I was at first, for the first people that were talked about. I mean, had some I knew that person, but I didn't knew them to that extent. So and then as soon as I started seeing the domino effect and where everybody started speaking out, I personally was I hope somebody, if they're speaking out on Twitter, I hope somebody goes to the authorities. I know it's really hard and probably not going to do anything, but at least there's a record for men or women that have been harassed to use this and take to the next level, right? In order for justice to happen. And unfortunately, not a lot of people did that.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's very crazy. And I'll throw it over to Marissa. Marissa is all about breaking through the silence and speaking up. So Marissa, I'll throw it over to you if you have some questions.
Sure. So I really appreciate you saying that, giving your not blessing, but giving your, permission to encourage women to speak out and men and any survivor to speak out. I think that that's really important to hear, especially from people like you who have a platform and have a name. So have you ever experienced anything throughout your wrestling career that was inappropriate or abusive?
Man, if I was to name some names and if I was to sing some stuff, it's just if you'd be here all day having a conversation with you, honestly, I decided to, and when I have some of these issues to deal with them personally, I have a very supportive husband who has seen most of this stuff online, who have seen a lot of the comments, pictures, all that kind of stuff. And we actually personally talked to some people, but not a lot of people have, the the courage to go and say something to somebody, in person, to make them stop. I mean, it took me a little while before this happened, but I remember telling my husband, like, when I first started in my career, man, if this was a regular job, like half of these people will be fired already for sexual harassment. But like, again, I talked about it before, and this was we lived in a culture of silence, and a lot of the girls, spoke out, and some of them were hurt, and some of them were victimized. Again, I mean, they blame the victim, but for me, it's very important to take action, and especially in cases in where some of the stuff were to the level that they were, that they don't necessarily need to be afraid of doing that, because that's the next step in order to keep people that were multiple offenders, to keep them away from doing it again.
But don't you think it could potentially hurt somebody's career to speak out? I mean, there have been cases where, even in Hollywood, where women spoke out against Harvey Weinstein years and years before the Me Too movement, and their careers were blacklisted. And I'm sure the same thing has happened in the wrestling world.
I mean, there's a reason why a lot of us didn't say anything before the speak out happened, because if you say something and you don't have the platform or you don't have the name, you were going to get blackballed, so it's like a sort of two edges, right? It's like, even you blame if you speak and you blame if you don't. And I think some people were like, why you're not using our platform the way that you should? It's like, we all just like to take action in a different way. And definitely when I noticed that there was like somebody that I knew that was part of the abuse, or they receive abuse, like, I definitely reach out to some of them, but some of them are really vulnerable and they don't want to really talk about it. So I respected that too, because you gotta, respect how they feel. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic, and it's very sensitive because it could go both ways.
Of course.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head. And I just wanted to say, like, I very much like support the indie talent on the show. That's what it's all about. We try to put them over, if you will. We've seen, some of these women come out, and I've seen one saying that she had a story, but she, even though all this is going on, she did not feel that she had to share it. And again, there's no pressure there. And then she ended up just walking away from the business right now. Are you seeing like a lot of that on your end, or are you thinking like this is something that is going to actually come out the other end very positive?
It could be both ways. I mean, again, some of the locker rooms were very toxic, and like a lot of the women were kind of like at the edge, and men too. So I think because of like now, because there's not a lot of shows running, opportunities are scarce, and like in like all this that is happening, and has been so hurtful in many ways. Like, some people, I just rather just do something else, because it's just like, I don't know, like for some people it was traumatizing, because they suffer from some of this abuse and some of this harassment and some of this, being blackballed and stuff like that. So then just continue to read the stories and reread them. It was a lot. It was a lot. So,
working a lot with this indie talent, we talk about, obviously before all this COVID stuff, but when we had these conventions where we had these indie shows where we would have, the up and coming talent come pick up the bigger name talent from the airport, or we talk about the talent in these indie shows where they have to share a locker room. Your thoughts on that, Thunder Rosa?
Well, it happened, and it should have never happened, and we should have said something. But now, given the fact that this all happened, and we needed to be different and we need to be better. The last show that I was in, there was no locker room for the girls. What I said, and I yelled at the guys too, I said, don't you ever let another woman change in front of you. It's all a responsibility. And I'm not talking about just women, but you guys too, to take care of the girls. A lot of these girls are new, so they feel afraid of like speaking up. But you know what? I've been in the business for 6 years. I'm a business owner. I'm a wrestler. I'm a pro MMA fighter. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I myself been through this too. I am not going to allow another girl to change in front of all the guys anymore. If we get a little tiny place for us to have privacy, so be it. But I also going to blame the guys for allowing this to happen too. because they're also responsible. That's why I had the conversation, and I said to everybody, it was like, you guys are also responsible. You guys have to be brothers keepers. We're all brothers here. There's no more BS of like, it's just a business brother. No, it's none of that. This should never happen in the first place,
Thunder Rosa for president 2020.
I know. I'm literally like clapping my hands over here. Don't mess with her.
No, it's like, and a lot of the times I was afraid to say something, even like when like the promoter didn't have my money or something, to like, just be sensitive. I can't be sensitive, it's my body, it's my brand, it's everything, I'm not perfect. I'm not a role model. I just care for other people. And that's it. If you don't care for other people, fine. But be ready for another speak out to happen. Because if we continue to have this mentality, this is going to continue to happen no matter what, So that's why I'm like right now is like, I'm all about action. You have to like put your money where your word is, or whatever that is. It's like, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. And again, if I'm in a locker room with women, especially in the indies, because the locker rooms are very small, I will demand for a place. And I'm not talking about sending me to the bathroom where everybody's going to be using the bathroom and they're going to be interrupting me. I'm asking for a little place and where I can change without, or the older girls can change without being bothered by the guys or being like looked at, or vice versa.
Right. And we've been hearing a lot from previous interviews about how people who are being accused of sexual harassment and sexual assault are still being booked. And when it's brought up to promoters about, well, why are you booking them? They've been accused. They say, well, what do you want us to do? Not book them? So what do you think about that?
That's the reason why, for me, it's super important, and I mentioned at the beginning of the show, that you have to press charges. And, legal action needs to be taken. Because when there is an accusation, the person are going to say, well, it's just an accusation. It's a he said, she said. And that's how they defend themselves. But then there's actually multiple cases in where the girls can go after this person or this other person. It's a different story.
So, yeah. As a business owner and a person who works in wrestling as a business owner, what do you think that promoters and the organizations can do to create the safer environments for the wrestlers and for their talent?
Well, there is an organization that has been created in Los Angeles that is like just focusing on this specific aspect, which is sexual harassment, HR, and everything. And I don't think that this has ever happened before. Is the Wrestling Coalition, and I will send you guys a link. She's been working super hard, and then she's working with other wrestlers, female and male wrestlers, and we are supposed to be reaching out to other schools, organizations, wrestling organizations, to like educate people about this aspect, because this is a serious thing, and because there's no platform created for us, for an independent contractor like us, it's really difficult to follow through and to have an investigation, like in other, regular jobs where, there's sexual harassment, the person gets suspended and, there's an investigation and whatever happens.
Right.
And again, we have to also remember, because it's an accusation, you cannot be, proved guilty until like you're found guilty, which again, that's for me is so important. And I've talked many times with some of my friends that it's important that you need to seek legal action, because as you guys can see, there was a video and the person said very clearly there was no legal action taken, so I can speak now. Yeah. And you're blaming the victim, and I'm just like, wow. I was blown away. I was like, wow, nobody went and actually pressed charges, especially if having all this proof, that it was real, so it's like, because we don't have the HR and we don't have like somebody that can guide you through it, because it's painful. It's a pain in the butt. It's like nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to spend money on lawyers, but it's necessary. It's necessary.
You don't think it falls on the organization to protect people? Like if there's an accusation, if not do an investigation, at least suspend or avoid booking somebody for the accusation?
Some people, they don't really care. Business is business. Remember, there's still a lot of people in the business that are still out there, and they've done some shady stuff, just because people haven't said anything, they're still running the stuff, you know? And nobody's saying anything about it. And nobody will say anything about it because there's a lot of people with a lot of power.
I think it's kind of like a vicious cycle if you think about it. So they abuse somebody and that person doesn't speak up. So they're allowed to continue to abuse and abuse and abuse. But if someone does speak up and nothing happens, then that person who's been abusing feels like on top of the world, like nobody, like they're unstoppable. Nobody can touch them. So it's almost encouragement to keep abusing. So I feel like, although I agree with what you're saying, business is business, there are so many people out there that aren't abusive pieces of shit that why don't we give them the booking instead of, well, it's a he said, she said,
And I totally agree with it, but every organization does business differently. Like, for example, me, if I know it's true and I've seen it and I my friends told me and I know and everything, I know that person will never work with us, just period. But again, everybody has a different set of values. Everybody has a different perspective of things, and I see what you're saying. Like I saw one of promoters and they were like, hey, why are you booking this person? This person has like a long list of like bad behavior, and I saw that. I was like, oh my God, come on, man. Like,
absolutely. I see that over here in the shows, where sometimes we're lucky enough to have like, drive-in shows, equivalent to like a drive-in theater, but wrestling shows or whatever. And every once in a while I'm running an interview or something and someone will chime in with a comment about somebody or something associated with somebody. So again, it's very, it's very crazy, like we keep saying, but Thunder Rosa, telling it like it is, and Marissa, obviously I see where you're coming from as well. Obviously Marissa being like, as we like to say, a survivor, a champion here on this show. But I want to throw this quote at you, Thunder Rosa. Marissa, help me out. I always botch the quotes. But they say in the ring, you guys trust each other. Behind the curtain, you guys are brothers and sisters. I guess this isn't really a quote, but I guess the quote was, we can trust each other to catch each other in the ring, but we can't trust each other outside of the ring. Your thoughts on that?
Man, it's just it's anywhere else, it's like it's entertainment business, and in a regular job, do you think that people are a certain way and they end up being a different way, and where like they're backstabbers, they say they have the best interest in you, which is BS, and they go, and when it's their time, they go after you, one way or another, and I mean, this is a perfect example of things, and it saddens me terribly, because it's not a way. This is not a way to like do business and to work, just period. There's nothing worse that you go to a place and then you'd like, or you want to try to go to different places and you can't because you're blackballed. You can't because somebody used their power to like, to try to like hinder you. But
Absolutely.
So there's nothing better and more empowering when you decide to, take action and take your own life and your own matters and do things the right way and show people that whatever is being said is not true. Especially when you're like, a victim of harassment. So, man, this is for me, this is such a sensitive topic. And that's why I say, like, some people, honestly, Marissa, and and you can see it, they don't care. They really don't care.
And it's disgusting to me. And you can see it truly in the fans as well. And I'm not by any means bashing wrestling fans, but we've had people on the show that talk about how fans are so loyal to the people that they grow up watching and so loyal to the wrestlers that they follow that anyone that comes out and makes an accusation gets, bashed on social media. And that's so scary for people. Like you said, it's such a sensitive topic, and people speaking their truth and speaking out about their story are being so vulnerable that then to be victim blamed and victimized by fans of the person they've accused is so traumatizing. It's probably almost as traumatizing as the actual incident.
But it's like that's when you speak out, that's part of what the consequences of saying something else, because you know, and you know, and you have to be aware that when this happens, that this is what's going to happen, especially if you're part of a, you know, of the entertainment business. And we saw it when the hashtag Me Too, all these women that spoke out, you know, they were also bashed. You know, I read a lot of these books a couple years ago, and it was like that women were, they and men were like scared because they go after everything, and they try to go and they try to dig dirt, and they try to do a bunch of stuff, you know, which is not cool either. But we have to be mindful when you're going to speak your truth, this is going to happen, and you have to be ready. But you also have to be ready to take action, to like take it to the next level. I mean, that's why it was so powerful for the hashtag Me Too movement, with all these women from Hollywood. They were able to take action, and they took this person, they put him in jail, because there was many stories, and all of them were very similar. The same with Bill Cosby, with all these women spoke out after 20, 30 years. They all took him out of society. So he was not being, you know, booked to do a show, and booked to do this and booked to do that. So that is what is necessary sometimes, you know, and because otherwise, Marissa, we're going to go back to like people not caring about the allegations and continue to book these people.
Right. So that's what I want to avoid, you know? So you said that there was a coalition. Yeah. Is that person collecting stories, for lack of a better term, in order to advocate for people? Or is that just like a survivor resource?
No, it's more of creating like I said, a platform in where if this incidents happen in schools or whatever else, there's actually somebody that can actually do an investigation. And they're creating policies that can be used in different promotions, schools, and they can be implemented too in case of this situations happening. So it's not, you know, it doesn't go to the next level as it got. So if like somebody goes and does an allegation, there is an investigation right away, or there should be an investigation right away. So that's what we're trying to implement, you know. It's again, this organization is in its infancy. But she's working very hard, and she's been working with attorneys and HR specialists from all over the country. So, like I said, I'll pass you the information if you want to be part of it, because I think this is very, very important. Because this, as in the wrestling, it's professional wrestling. It's called professional wrestling for a reason, right? So it should be taken as is, as professional wrestling. It's a profession. We're professionals.
Right.
So, wow. I mean, I always seen it that way, you know, but is like you were saying, like you can't trust people in the back. Like that's why we have to be very, very mindful of who we associate ourselves with, because then later on it can bite us in the butt, even when we don't have nothing to do, just because we were friends, you know.
Wow. Very, very well said. The business has been so positive to me. You know, I've just made so many like friends and connections, and obviously, Thunder Rosa, you have had just such a decorated career so far. You've had so many accomplishments. You know, I wish we were here talking about dream opponents and you know, dream tag team partners and all this stuff. But you know, obviously, we're talking about a very serious topic. Does this kind of like, obviously it sours everything, but what's kind of your positivity level on the business versus the negativity? Like what's your feeling right now?
Man, for me, professional wrestling has brought a lot of happiness, and a lot of my dreams came true because of professional wrestling, and because of how much dedication and passion I have to this. I mean, it's a very difficult business to be in. It's been mainly dominated by white men. So
yeah.
of a person of color to like be condecorated and like make it big, it's hard. It's very, very hard, and you go through you eat a lot of shit, so excuse my language. And but you have to learn how to navigate and how to be smart and how to like, you know, do what's best for you, and without stepping on other people's backs or backstabbing other people. That's like my number one thing. I don't like doing that just to get ahead. And that's a lot of my some of my veterans will be like, Melissa, you are in the wrong business because you're such a good person, you know. But I'm not going to put my values and my morals on the side just because I want to get something. You know, I'm gonna get it because of my merit, because I work hard for it, because I bled for it, because I sweat for it, because I worked so hard, and there's no denial that I deserve it, you know. So I think it's like professional wrestling has taught me to be tough, to have tough skin, and to have no limits. I never had limits, but I think this one has taught me even more, like, to be limitless. Like, the only limits that I have is the ones that I set for myself, and that's it. Like, nobody else can tell me otherwise.
I wish
Absolutely.
more people had that mindset.
Yeah, clapping my hands over here right now. Very, very, very well said. Such a badass, and really telling it like it is. I do want to be respectful of your time, Thunder Rosa, and thank you again so much for a few minutes. I did want to ask you this. You know, a lot of times you mentioned your husband, some of your guys' endeavors. You guys make me believe in love again. But I did want to talk about, I believe it's Mission Pro Wrestling. I see you guys posting some stuff. I think fans can request matches and all that stuff. You know, I just saw Holiday a couple days ago at a driving show here in Jersey. She was fantastic in person, but not about shameless promo. We'll get to that later. I did want to ask you, you did mention earlier in the interview about kind of taking on an all-female roster and all-female management. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's been a heck of a roller coaster. Right after the speak out happened, my husband was like, well, maybe you should go and start running an all-female promotion. And I'm like, man, I'm not ready. And he's like, no, it's time. Wow. So I was like, oh man, this is gonna be hard. So, you know, we tried our best to do as much to fulfill all the roles with females. This from the merch table, the tickets. You know, our booker is a female. I'm the owner. What was that? Sound, commentary, everything. Like, we want women. Production, that's the hardest thing to find is women that are in production. So that's where I come here, and I'm probably not going to wrestle very much because I want to make sure that I learn production and I'm able to like run things in the back. But that's the most difficult part, because I don't feel that there is enough women in the production area, and that's one of the most important parts of professional wrestling, because professional wrestling is being put on YouTube, is being put all over the world, but you need somebody to produce that and to produce it well. So that's been very challenging. And I've been like trying to talk to some of the girls into like, hey, are you interested in learning more about how to like record a match and how to like edit a match and how to do this stuff? And they were like, nah, I just really want to wrestle. And I'm just thinking in my head, recording, editing, and learning how to do all these things will take you even further, because you can use it for your YouTube, you can use it for your Patreon. If you're into like OnlyFans, you can use that. So that's like other sources of income. So it's like changing the mindset of just being a wrestler and entertainer to like being a wholesome business person. It is very difficult, and that's what I want to do with Mission Pro Wrestling, is like not only allow and give a platform for women to wrestle and entertain people, but also to learn other ways to like become their own business, business owners, which is owning their own brand and being able to, make money with wrestling, which is one of the hardest things to do, and be successful at it.
As far as the production elements go, I have a couple female friends that I think would really benefit from working with you just because of your like badassery and your power. And if you'd like, I can refer them to you or connect them to you and see if they're people that you'd like to work with.
Yeah, if like, especially if they're like, I don't know if they live, where do you live, Marissa?
I'm in Chicago, but they're all over the place.
Yeah, if they're like closer to Texas, that will be best. Again, we're just starting, and I'm like seriously trying to do this with my team as like self-sufficient as possible, because we want to make sure that, we get our equipment, but we want to make sure that we're able to, in the future, have like a badass production and everything's owned by us and we're like running that way. Yes, we'll definitely like to get some help for the future shows.
Okay, I'll connect you to a couple people.
Awesome.
Love it. You guys are killing it. Last question for me, Thunder Rosa, and again, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time. I do like to end things on a positive note, if you don't mind my asking. We do have a lot of indie talent on the show, so kind of a two-parter here, tying it into what we've been talking about earlier. Any advice you would have for them, to kind of move forward safely, and then if you wouldn't mind some advice for them creatively or trying to get over or move forward in the business. I
think it's like people need to stop focusing so much on like the end goal, which is, it could be, AEW, WWE, all this stuff, and just really enjoy the journey. Like, it took me years for me to like be like, okay, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. It was just go, 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 go. And then after I achieve so much, I'm like, what am I doing? You know? And that's when we're missing, or like we're comparing ourselves to other people that are more successful than us that started with us. Like our journey is completely different than the other person's journey, you know? So you just have to enjoy the troubles and tribulations that you will go through. And when you stop enjoying it, you need to stop doing it. Like don't make everybody miserable in the locker room and be a sourpuss. I think it's so important that you not only like, because I always say this, like fans give us so much that you have no clue. Like so many of my fans right now, I can tell you they have given my family and me so much joy, and they have helped me create so many great memories that if I would have done it and other things, I don't think I would have been able to achieve it otherwise. So it is so important that you are positive and you are that you actually give something to this business, you know, because at the end of the day, when you die, like you're gonna take everything and all the knowledge and everything that else you have is gonna be for nothing. So for me, that's why, maybe because again I was a social worker at before. For me, it's important to give, to be generous and to be genuine, you know, because that's gonna take you a lot further than, you know, just being selfish and a sour veteran.
Wow. I'm just going to echo what Marissa said. Thunder Rosa for president. Marissa, you got anything else before we get out of here?
I just, if you wouldn't mind giving just like one piece of advice to any up-and-comer who might face some sort of abuse or harassment, or veteran wrestlers who have faced, what's like one piece of advice you'd give them?
I will say that if you you have been harassed before in any way, shape, or form, that if you have somebody you trust really well, either a veteran, a friend, or whatever, to help you talk to the other person and just really be like, you need to stop. Like, it's so important. It's so important to tell them to stop. And if they don't stop, you need to like gather all your information, all the stuff that you have, and really take action. Because it's so important that these people, because some people are sick. They're really, really sick, and they need to be taken out. And I'm not talking about just at the business. They need to be in jail because they're so sick, and they've done it so many times to so many different people. And that's very, very important, because they will continue to do it. If they don't do it to you, they're gonna jump to the next person, then they're gonna do it to the next person. And it's really sad, because some people are so passionate about pro wrestling that when this happened, like their passion, their love, and everything is gone. And it just takes everything away. And it takes so long for them to like rebuild and continue, because not everybody's strong, you know, not everybody can just keep going and just like brush it off. But that's so important. And believe me, so empowering. I can tell you, it made me really nervous when I had to like face some people and be like, hey, whatever you're saying, and I know you're going to say it's not true, but I know it's true. You need to stop right now, immediately, you know, or you will suffer other consequences, because I'm not playing.
Yeah, don't mess with Thunder Rosa.
So important for girls and guys, you know, especially a lot of our LGBTQ people, mm-hmm. Like they suffer from a lot of that stuff, and they think, like, some people would think it's funny when they're being harassed like that. It's not funny. It's not funny at all.
Thank you for saying that.
Very, very well said. And Thunder Rosa, like I said, I do want to end this on a positive note. You know, hopefully next time we talk to you, you know, we're talking about goals and all sorts of other stuff, and the world will be back to normal. But I am all about the shameless promo here. So please, you know, I saw you just put up some pictures on your website. You know, I'm definitely going to look into that. But tell us where everyone can follow you on social media, your website, and all your endeavors coming up.
So you guys can find me at thunderrosa22 at gmail, thunderrosa22 at gmail.com if you want to send me an email. But you can find me at thunderrosa.net. All my social media is linked to there. I also have my YouTube page, and where it's monetized. So every time I do live feeds or I put a new video, I usually am in the chat, so you guys can donate money to the cause. You know, this is how I make a living, because I'm not wrestling very much.
Sure.
And future plans, they're still kind of like you know, floating some stuff in there, but we're going 100% with Mission Pro Wrestling. We're trying to support as many women as possible. And this is not your typical BS small promotion. We will make it as big as possible. We have a lot of connections, and we want to make sure those who work hard and deserve it just get those opportunities, just like I did. Because somebody was able to give me those opportunities, or just offer those opportunities, and just take over the world. We want like good people to take over professional wrestling, good strong women to take over professional wrestling.
Make professional wrestling safe again. Woo!
There it is. There it is. I love it. Thunder Rosa, thank you so much. Obviously a fan for a long time, but more importantly, we appreciate you opening up. You certainly have my respect, and continued success moving forward. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you guys for having me.
Appreciate it. All right, guys, as always, say here, stay safe, stay positive, take care of each other. We're out. Peace.
If you enjoyed this podcast, you have to check out www.marissafaycohen.com/private-coaching. That's www.marissafaycohen.com/private-coaching. Marissa would love to develop a made-for-you healing plan to heal from emotional abuse. She does all the work and you just show up. Stop feeling stuck, alone, and hurt, and live a free, confident, and peaceful life. Don't forget to subscribe to the Healing from Emotional Abuse podcast and follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Marissa F. Cohen and Instagram at marissa.fay.cohen. We'd love to see you there.